Coverage of the FCT Council elections, where in few hours from now, sorting, counting, and collation of results will take center stage ahead of the final declaration of winners. Our correspondents are still on the field monitoring proceedings around the 6 council areas, where they will be giving us real-time updates on activities going on in their various respective areas of coverage. We will also be having guest analysts in the studio to further elaborate on the FCT election under the newly signed electoral bill. But first, let's bring you a report by TVC News senior correspondent Abidat Lawal, who had earlier confirmed that early voting took place in INEC as electoral officials moved in swiftly without delay. But despite early preparations, voter turnout was slightly reported to be low.
As early as 7 a.m., officials of the Independent National Electoral Commission were already on ground at several polling units across INEC. For our TVC crew, it was a morning of movement, going from one polling unit to another, tracking how the exercise was unfolding. What we found was a system ready to go. Ballot boxes arranged, voting cubicles set, and beavers machines being configured, all pointing to INEC's preparedness in Nigeria's most populous area council within the FCT. But while the officials were ready, the voters were slow to show up. At many polling units visited, presiding officers waited and waited, as only a handful of residents trickled in. Security personnel stood by, maintaining calm and order around the voting areas as the process gradually picked up. There is optimism, however, that turnout will improve as the day progresses and more voters step out to have their say. Abuja Municipal Area Council is expected to record significant voter participation as residents elect a new council chairman and councillors to represent them at various wards. Habida Lawal, TVC News, Abuja.
All right, joining us in the studio is the Executive Director of Parent Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa, Eze Wago. Thank you, Eze, for joining us.
Thank you.
What do you think is responsible for this seeming apathy at the beginning of this exercise? Because later we hook up with some of our reporters now to get to know if the situation has changed, might have changed.
Thank you, Ayo. I'm not sure we're having apathy. I think the challenge is the turnout. Apathy and turnout are not, because, like I said, if you have 1,600,000 plus registered voters, registration is participation. So
registration is participation.
Registration is participation. It's part of the election. Is not ED. There is a process.
Okay.
Okay. So the process leading to this, voters have a role. People who go to register to vote are not apathetic. They are interested. Now, what is it that would draw them to come and
vote on election
turn
day?
out on election day? A lot of things will have to play there. The first is the quality, their interpretation of the quality of the candidates, their understanding of the current situation. Is government alive to them? Do they see government as, especially in the sub system that we have, do you feel local government governance? Do you truly feel governance?
How close?
How close are they? We live in this city. How many of us know the candidates, the councillors? What is the level of enlightenment, political education, voter education that we are thrown into this? What's the level of support? So all of that will count for turnout. But let's always be nuanced in the use of that apathy. So, and then at the time that you are talking about, it is too early. If you looking at INEC, for instance, the way INEC is configured, if you talk about the city center, for instance, the area 10, area 2, area 3, secretariat and all of those areas, many of the people come in there to work and go back.
Non-residential areas.
Most, it's sparsely, residential. Sparsely residential. So you are not likely going to see, it's like your Victoria Island, your Lekki. And if you remember, there was a by-election in Ibeju-Lekki some time back. It's recorded 11% turnout.
11.
Yes, and the reason is that in your urban areas, they are watching television. They analyze elections. They don't participate.
So this will be like a kind of litmus test for the new chairman coming in for INEC, and before we start having the election timetable, the 2027 election timetable, INEC will need to put one or two things here, and under Amopiton, this will be his first outing.
Ayo, we have a way of creating personality cults. And what do I mean? We now make it a litmus test for the chairman. But this chairman is in the midst of 12 other national commissioners. He runs a commission. And the commission runs through committees. And out of that 12, he's the only new person. So I would prefer that we say is a litmus test post 2023 for the commission. Why would I say that? We are a people who enjoy singling out an individual.
The buck stops on his table.
The buck does not stop on his table.
As the chairman.
The buck does not stop. For the way INEC is configured, is important. And that is important to put out there. Because if you realize that it is a commission, he embodies, he's a prefect. If you like, a senior prefect. He takes the decisions of the commission and dishes it out. The same way we go to a restaurant, we don't ask for the cook. We only see the waiter. But the waiter is not the cook. If the food is good, it is the kitchen, not necessarily the waiter. So I'm just putting that there, but there is no litmus test. What is important is that we are not using this new constitution, this new amendment is not likely going to be what you are going to be using for this election. Because the process, like I said, candidate selection, notification of election, all of those processes have been mostly concluded before Amopiton's appointment. So what we are seeing now is the conclusion, the campaigns and the E-Day properly. Okay? So the commission has a responsibility, just like other, and you know, why it's easy to talk to you is that you are very experienced in these things. In the pyramid of this stakeholdership, everyone has a role to play. INEC will conduct these elections. Our expectations will be that the INEC officials will be professional, the ad hoc staff and the staff will be professional, will implement the rules and guidelines that INEC has set for itself within the ambit of the regulations that they have put out for themselves. If they do that, then we have a good and acceptable election. If the security agencies perform professionally, impartially, and neutral, we will see an outcome. If the political parties, and indeed 60% of the shenanigan that happens in our election is by the politicians, their candidates, and their followers. If they behave well, we will have a good outcome. If they misbehave, oftentimes we give them comfort and look for the fall guys. The voters have their own expectation to conduct themselves peacefully.
Now, talking about the voters, it seems that some of these voters might have lost confidence and interest in this system. if you look at from 1999, if you check out the statistics in terms of, participation, coming out to vote on election day.
Turnout
On election day. And the presidential election, the president actually won his mandate with like 38% of the number of people that came out, to vote, which is like a lot of people will tell you that is low. Looking at the number of people that were that actually registered, to exercise their franchise before the 2023 election. Now, 2027, a lot of people are saying that, look, if they don't inspire confidence, that some people might just go like the other election 2023.
Confidence is not just a function of the umpire. Confidence has to do with the economic conditions that how the people feel about government as well. If government is alive to its responsibilities, it is a booster for confidence.
Some people will say, with what happened
let me come. I'm going to
signing of the Electoral Act. Some people are feeling shortchanged already.
Which of this
Electoral Act? Yes.
So you see, if you go and do a Vox Populi right now, 90% of the people who are talking about the Electoral Act don't know what has been signed. There are about more than 100 clauses that were up for amendments. The fixation is on 63. 63 is not the only amendment.
A lot of people, attention, the spotlight was on that 63.
63 talks about this transmission, mandatory transmission,
yes,
which is okay. There is nothing wrong. It's already in the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act already, the 2022 Electoral Act, had mandatory, had real time. It was just that it was discretionary. And even the abuse of that discretion is sanctionable under that Electoral Act 2022. But now, it's been made mandatory. It's been made compulsory, only with a caveat. If there's an if, and what a lot of people are quarreling with is
the fallback option of form ECHA.
Is the if. And if you ask me personally, I am asking, do we surrender completely your electoral process to technology? Do you discountenance the fact that you have challenges? Do you want to play away those challenges and say it doesn't exist? If you surrender completely and there is a technological failure which you cannot swear can't or not happen, will you be able to deal with the bedlam that will unleash? So it's a sociological situation that we are dealing with, and we have to be nuanced, we have to be careful. And I've argued that you don't scratch to the point where you start scratching out blood. Why are you having amendments? You are having amendments because it's a work in progress. So my suggestion, Ayo, is can we leave this? Can we even allow our law to implement it for at least 2 cycles of elections and really understand the process, improve our infrastructure? Because there are many people who are arguing the infrastructure that you have in 2022, 2020, most of those infrastructure they are falling apart. And I've argued that your election can never be better than your infrastructure. So the point for me is that confidence has many ways to boost it. INEC has a role. The politicians have more role to play, whether they are in opposition or position. Their attitude has a way. See, the INEC will provide those ad hoc staffs. Who unleashes the violence? Who buys the votes? Who tries to manipulate the officials, whether security or INEC? The politicians. And when they do that, they take a back seat and pretend that they were not the one that orchestrated those things. And in this struggle, there are no virgins in the maternity ward. Whether it's vote buying, everybody is buying. It is when you are bought if it is violence, the political class is always looking for dubious advantage. And so when you are outsmarted by your opponent,
so you cry.
You cry blue mother. If you win, if your dubious advantage is successful, you say that the process was very excellent. I've seen situations in which a political party had issued a statement asking for the cancellation of an election they didn't know they won. And I'm talking now specifically about the by-election in Kano. So my quick sense is that we all have a duty to inspire, improve confidence, and don't use 2023 election, because the 2023 election gave you one of the most diverse National Assembly since the return to this democracy. Today you have people walking out because there is no absolute majority in that house. Who conducted that election? No, the election that produced the opposition that is virile, that is effective, that we are celebrating. Which organization conducted the election? Those ones, did they rig as well? Did they rig themselves in? There's a sense in which people want to criminalize Electoral Act 2022 and make it look like it has no, even if you use it now, that you cannot have a good election. That's not true. You can improve a process, but don't delegitimize what you have that gave you an outcome that you should ordinarily be celebrating. I don't know if you understand.
They are saying we should. They are saying they expect the country to be moving forward in terms of deployment of technology.
No, I'm for it. We should deploy technology, but we cannot lose sight also of where we are as a people. The quality of our politicians. How do they relate to figures and technology? The quality of your politician is very important. Who are they? Are they people who like to play with the rules? Are they people who respect their own laws? Look at their own party primaries. They organize elections, don't they? What elections do they organize? They organize an election called primaries. Can their primaries go through integrity tests? The primaries they conduct, whether position or opposition, can you say that their primaries?
It reminds me of the outlawed indirect primaries, as you have delegates who assemble in the stadium, and it's the survival of the fittest. It's
cachectomy. It's political cachectomy. Who has the more money? That's what you have. In many places, delegates we are paid as much as 1 million. If it is not transactional, it is diabolical.
Some you won't even see the delegates before.
No, we have had
3 days,
people come.
4 days before the primaries.
When in 1998, delegates were driven from Abuja and Bauchi into the stadium to go and vote. It happened this year. In this country, we have seen people. We know the Okija story. We know all of those stories. You think it has disappeared? So your first election, which is the primary election, has been transactional, diabolical, to the extent that it creates the desperation that spills into your main election.
Okay, let's take.
How many political parties organize electronic primaries?
We'll
your National Assembly cannot even vote electronically.
During plenary. We have Moyo Thomas. Moyo Thomas is joining us from Buhari. Moyo.
Yes. So we are in the Buhari Area Council, just in front of the JAMB office, the JAMB part. So the voting generally has been going seamlessly, going well. but for some challenges that are very obvious, like this polling unit just behind me, they do not have a table and chair. The officers are squatting and sitting on stones to ensure they conduct the elections, and this has affected the process because they couldn't start on time. They started just about 11 a.m. Instead of the normal 8:30. And this is also another polling unit that also could not start on time because they also do not have table and chair. As we moved on through this area to the FGGC polling units, we also realized part of the challenges they had was the fact that the polling units were divided, and some of the voters were the area they are used to voting, they couldn't do their voting because the names had been scattered, and they had those challenges. Apart from these normal challenges, the voting process generally has been going on well. People are voting, though we also realize people are not coming out. At this particular polling unit, they have 650 accredited units, and just before we came live now, they said only about 27 people had been accredited and we voted out of the 650 registered voters. And this has also been the experience generally. There are some places that we even have just 5 voters, 7 voters out of like about 1,000 registered voters in those units. But Buhari, we also noticed presence of security, which has made the place very peaceful. So we only need, INEC needs to take into consideration the deliverables they need to do their work, the officials to do their work.
Thank you, Moyo Thomas. Thank you, Moyo Thomas, for that update from Buhari. Logistics. What are we talking about here? Chairs, tables, that the electoral officers we used to man the polling units. What has just happened? This is Buhari in the Federal Capital Territory.
INEC needs to leverage the resources of government facilities. INEC cannot provide. So when we talk about
that is the problem. The responsibility.
So this Buhari, in this place, you are supposed to have election in a public facility. Now that public facility does not have support. So what it means is that for this 290 something polling whatever in Buhari, you are supposed to you supply tables
and chairs.
And when you see the budget, you don't factor in the fact that this has to be procured, because government itself does not, the infrastructure of election in the country is not supporting logistics. This needs to be emphasized that, for instance, the secondary school where these elections have to be conducted, you need to make access for people living with disabilities. Is the INEC that will provide ramp?
Okay, I have Uloma Oyemachi. Thank you, Uloma. Please, what's the situation out there now? Where are you first? I think okay. Now, as we were saying before, Uloma give us that report. I'm sure our technicians are working on the audio so that we get a better feed from Uloma Oyemachi.
Why didn't we get a better feed?
Technical age. Okay, Uloma is back. Let's see now. Uloma Oyemachi. Yes, where are you reporting from?
Yes, I'm reporting from Karu, Jikoyi, and we've visited a lot of polling units here at Karu. If you can hear me, the representatives from various security parastatals are here, from NSCDC to Nigeria Police Force and even Immigration Service. And when we spoke to them, they said they want to ensure that it's only Nigerians that vote at this election, because in previous times it has been recorded that people from other countries, African countries, are coming to disrupt and vote at the election. So they have stated that that is what they are here for. And also, I'm at one of the highest polling centers here at LEA Primary School at Karujikoi, and we have seen over 100 voters that are currently here getting accredited and voting as well, and over 1,000 are currently registered here, so we're going to be expecting more. And while we went out, to interact with officials at other polling units, we saw also that they were empty. So it just depends on where your name is seen. We didn't see as much participation as we're seeing at this polling unit. As you can see behind me, there are a lot of people that are still queuing up to vote at this center. So it's very active, and we have seen that it's also very, very peaceful. No disruptions whatsoever. Everybody is doing their job as they should.
In terms of logistics, when did the electoral officers that you have around, when did they start the exercise?
For this particular area, we came here at about 8 a.m. So we noticed that the INEC officials were already setting up. So at around 9 a.m., they had already started accrediting voters. But for other areas as well, they were waiting for the voters to come. So by now, they must have started with those areas, but we do not have those figures yet. But for this particular location that I am in, we can tell you that they started as early as 9 a.m. And during one of their briefings, they stated that the election will end at 2:30 p.m. So we're expecting that anybody that comes after 2 p.m. will not be accredited and will not be allowed to vote. So we're just monitoring to see how the process goes.
Thank you, Uloma Oyemachi. We'll join you in the course of later, so that we take the process of collation of results and counting from the polling units. Now we have the option from EC8A, the same manual from EC8A. So after you register your results and the principal officers have signed and everything, so you upload it real time.
That's what I'm saying, that the challenge was not that we were not doing that. The challenge was that it was not in the law as to mandatory.
Yes.
But in the guideline, in the INEC guideline, you had it there that
discretionary.
That immediately after counting, sorting, an announcement of results, it is entered into Form EC8A. Copies given to party agents and security, and then uploaded into the IREV. If
it wasn't backed by law then.
It was not backed by law then, as in Electoral Act. But in the INEC guideline, it is there. So litigants, people who went to court, the courts were telling them that mandatory is not compulsory, that it is
like a viewing center.
Yes, it's still even now, even if you make it mandatory, it is still a viewing center. It has no computational ability. Even if you upload it, it does not analyze anything. It is still what you mined from polling units that you upload into the IREV. And if there is a conflict, and you now go to the IREV, it is still human that will take what is in IREV and bring it down to another manual, another form.
Okay, we have to leave it there. I want to thank you. Ezewago, I want to thank you, the Executive Director, Pairing Advocacy and Advancement Center in Africa. I want to thank you for your contribution.
Thank you so very much, Ayam.
All right. We'll take this breather. We'll be right back after this time out. Please, don't go away.